When these cabins left Disney property and they put some new ones in, people were pretty upset. The cool thing is that we were able to have a piece of Disney history and also make it into our home.
Basically, it just showed up on a semi-truck. That was about it.
So welcome to the kitchen. We actually did quite a bit in this kitchen to renovate it. Some people might think that it's hard to have a big dog in a tiny space.
When these cabins were first posted on Facebook, they were listed for $49,900. Overall, that was not too bad of a price.
Will you join me? Will you roll? Make this house our tiny home.
Hey, I'm Jacob.
And I'm Grace.
And welcome to our Fort Wilderness cabin. So here we are on the outside of the cabin, and this cabin might look familiar to some of you, as it is originally an old Fort Wilderness Disney World cabin that we have purchased and renovated to make it into our home.
I stayed in Fort Wilderness cabins a couple times growing up. This was a very big, nostalgic place for a lot of memories that people had with their families. So when these cabins left Disney property and they put some new ones in, people were pretty upset. But the cool thing is that we were able to have a piece of Disney history and also make it into our home, which not a lot of people are doing. So when these Fort Wilderness cabins came up for sale, we actually acted on them pretty quickly, and that's why we were able to get one. We just had a strong feeling that this was right for us. The aesthetic was different. It was really made with good quality products, and we loved it.
When these cabins were first posted on Facebook, they were listed for $49,900. And then there was a small shipping fee. Overall, that was not too bad of a price for what it was. Basically, it just showed up on a semi-truck and the guy backed it into our spot, and that was about it.
The cabin came with everything really inside of it. The only thing it didn't come with was the artwork on the walls. So that included the furniture, the bedroom set, and the TVs too. So all of it was included.
We've been living here for about a year and a half, and we love every moment of it.
Welcome to the inside of the cabin. This is Mabel, our dog. Some people might think that it's hard to have a big dog in a tiny space, but especially this breed, she's a Bernese Mountain Dog. She will be wherever you are at, whether you are on the ground, at the table, on the couch, anywhere. She wants to be sitting right next to you or on top of you. So it's actually not too hard to have a big dog in a small space. We usually use this space to hang out here, watch some TV, or I do my remote working at the dining room table here. This used to be a Murphy bed long ago. We did do some painting. As you can see, this wall is a different color than the rest of the cabin, just to brighten up and give some light into the wood. And then we did do some painting on this cabinetry and also add some hardware. So for Christmas, of course, we really like to decorate. I know that that was really special for a lot of people who did spend some time in the Fort Wilderness cabins during the holidays. So I do a lot of painting. I'm an artist. Of course, I had to add a Fort Wilderness ornament as well, but lots of decorations, as you can see, throughout the cabin. Now let's go check out the kitchen. So welcome to the kitchen. We actually did quite a bit in this kitchen to renovate it. It came as a typical dark wood, and we did do a lot of painting to this. We kind of kept the same theme of the dark forest green paint, and we kept the same theme of the hardware as we did in the living room. We also added this pantry. This is probably very new to people who have stayed in the cabin. You know that there's not a whole lot of space for food in here, so living tiny, you kind of have to add more storage, and that's exactly what we did with this pantry here. Of course, we have our great espresso machine. Use that every day, maybe twice a day. We do use a water filtration system. And then because we don't have a full-size oven in this space, we do have a 10-in-1 Ninja Foodie oven that's kind of an air fryer. We use it for baking, lots of other things like dehydrating herbs, and we do have a 2-burner stovetop. This is a residential size fridge, so this fits our needs perfectly. This was original to the Fort Wilderness cabin. Once it got here, we had all the appliances, everything that came in here other than our oven that we added, and it works great for us. let's head down. I'll show you the rest of the house. So this is our hallway, and we did thrift this great buffet table. We wanted some more space and to store things. And as most people know, in tiny homes, you kind of have to make do with the storage that you have. So it definitely took some space in this hallway, but we needed some space for our shoes. So I do ride horses competitively. So of course I had to add some of my ribbons here, and you can see that in the decor throughout the cabin is a lot of horse themed things. All right, let's check out the bathroom. This is a full-size bathroom, and this was originally kind of what Disney had laid out. We completely painted the inside of this to brighten the bathroom up. It was pretty dark in here. You can see too that we changed out the lighting, we changed out the hardware, and then we also painted everything. Our toilet is a normal residential toilet that we had here already put in place, so we didn't have to do anything to that. So it was pretty easy to do the renovations in here. We just kind of made it our style. So this is the bedroom. We did do quite a bit to this bedroom. This used to have a double twin bed here, and we took that out. That was quite hard because we had to disassemble it and get it out of here. But we needed more space for our clothes, of course, because this is the only closet that it came with. So we used this closet. We did put a washer and dryer hookup in that closet, but we don't really need it since we live at an RV resort. We can utilize that. So instead, we put in a full-size closet here. We have the barn doors, which is great for us, and we have tons of storage here. We use our storage under our bed as well, and then of course, all the decor here that I added that kind of adds to the cabin's theme. This backsplash, or this headboard here, is original to the cabin as well, so a lot of the furniture that you'll see throughout came with it. So we didn't have to buy new furniture, and it's also really nice, sturdy, and Amish made. So the cedar beams that you see throughout the cabin are really unique to a tiny home. Of course, this was used as a resort, so there is no loft in this cabin, but it's kind of nice for us because we have the very, very high ceilings. It really opens up the space in here, which is kind of unlike a lot of tiny homes and other RVs that we've been into. So we loved that feature, and we love that feature throughout the cabin.
So the specs of our cabin are 46 feet by 12 feet, which is a little bit bigger than a typical tiny home. It averages around 500 square feet. We've actually been super blessed in the place that we've been able to put our tiny home, because they've allowed us to do a lot of our own landscaping, and we also put on this deck ourselves. We actually decided to make it a floating deck, so it's not actually connected to our cabin. At some point we'll move this cabin. It'll make it a lot easier to pull it out. So now let's talk a little bit about the siding. This siding obviously came with the cabin, and as you can hear, it's very solid wood. It's not any cheap plastic fake wood or anything like that. It's very solid, and really we haven't had to do any maintenance to it. The only really thing I could think of is potentially restaining it in a few years would be needed. Now moving down to the skirting, this is something that we had to do ourselves. We decided to go the more inexpensive route, and we found a raw lumber mill that we got to get some of their raw wood, and we just screwed it on there, stained it, and it looks great. So here we are, we've made it to our front door, which, as you can see, it has a nice little Magic Band scanner for those Disney fans out there. Unfortunately, since it was made in a hotel, we have not been able to get it to work yet, but that is definitely on the project list. And then here as well is an addition that I've put on myself, and this is our awning, just to give a little shade to the deck. Originally, we were considering putting up like a big pergola thing, but to be honest, that just became a little bit too expensive, and so we went with this. Come with me and we'll check out the garden. So here we are at the garden. Now, this is one of my prized possessions. This is my sugarcane plant, and obviously it's doing very well, so we can't wait to harvest that. We do also have a lot of our herbs and blueberry bushes as well. Now, coming this way, we have a lot more raised beds, and as you can see, we also have the irrigation system that I've put in, and that helps a lot in the summer heat where we don't have to physically water as much because it's all automatic. Now, as you can see, it is pretty barren in here, but that is because we have just recently harvested sweet potatoes. Now, this is one of 3 crates that we've got, and as you can see, they turned out pretty well. So currently, they haven't sprouted yet, but we do have carrot seeds, beet seeds, and then spinach and romaine lettuce, as well as bunching onions growing. And a few more things we have around here is we do have our own citrus trees. We got lemons, oranges, and peaches, and those are all doing great, keeping up with that Florida tradition. And also an awesome spot that we have as well is right behind us. We got this beautiful protected wetlands. All right, so let's head on to the other side of the house. So here we are at the back of the cabin. Now, I personally love fishing, so I built this nice fishing rod storage, along with, of course, the obligatory Bass Fishing Cove sign. We also put in these nice doors along with the skirting, so we can just have some extra storage under the cabin as well. And the last big thing I want to touch base on the outside is our air conditioning unit. A lot of tiny homes are now installed with the mini split air conditioning, but since ours was 25 years old, they sent it with this giant air conditioner. But it's awesome because I was able to hook this thing up by myself, and something a little bit different is that our cabin is actually central air, so the air conditioning goes all throughout the house. So here we are now back in the front. And as you can see, we wanted to keep this pretty traditional to what the original cabins looked like. So we do have some of the original lighting right here, as well as something very popular is the original numbers from Fort Wilderness. And it was actually pretty funny. We had someone reach out once we started posting about this cabin online, and they actually mentioned that they stayed in our unit before, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Well, we've been living tiny for a while, but I think it definitely changes your mindset. If something is not gonna fit in our tiny home, we don't bring it home, we don't pick it up, we buy a lot less, we purchase a lot less things, and we realize what we really need and what we don't need. And truly, it's been very great lifestyle to live by. I know if we lived in a bigger space, you might accumulate more. So having that limitation actually really helps.
We've found that we're able to live very comfortably in this size of a home and not really have to worry about anything, like not having certain items or anything due to the lack of space.
If you like this week's episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and check back soon because we have new unique home tours publishing all the time. And if you'd like to join our team and get access to members-only content and unique perks, make sure you click on the join button below.